Can you explain what the bystander effect is and how this affects how we interact with one another?
Yes, there were a number of stories in the last 5 to 10 years that really bothered me. Usually they were crime stories, and they were images that people had taken, video or pictures of people who were in peril. Maybe they were about trying to jump off a bridge to commit suicide, or they were being beaten up by an assailant. And instead of doing one of two things, intervening or calling 911, instead they videotaped or took images of those people suffering. And that actually has become far more common. And in a way, having this technology in our hand makes us automatically think, oh, I don't have to act. I am doing something. I'm filming it. I'm taking a picture. But in fact, as human beings, what we owe each other is to call 911, to intervene if that's something that we can safely do to help someone else. And I worry that the power the device gives us a kind of moral escape hatch from doing the right thing in some of these public settings. At the same time that we're actually a lot more rude and impatient with each other in public settings, in part because we like to be able to do what we want when we want, because we're used to doing that on our phones. So as our obligation as citizens and just as human beings is to kind of look out for each other in public space. And I fear that because we're so in tune in our own little virtual realities we create with our phones, that we fail in those obligations a lot of times. And that puts us all at risk long term. We want a society where people are looking out for each other.
You see it every time there's like a bully beat down. It'll show you the beat down, and then you'll see some other student shot, and all you'll see is students filming it. Just students
holding
like
up their phone.
wall-to-wall
There are
students.
whole sites devoted to this online, actually. It's kind of horrifying.
So the subtitle of the book is, well, it's the title is The Extinction of Experience, Being Human in a Disembodied World. And I feel like that disembodied piece speaks to one of the principles that you espouse in the book, which is we're losing our empathy. It's going, and it's going fast, and we really need our empathy now more than ever. So how is the tech and all of these problems that we're outlining here robbing us of our empathy?
Well, one of the ways I think it does that is that we sort of gradually, we assume the new thing is an improvement, right? We get a new technology. We're like, this is really cool. It can do all these great things. And often that's true. And we use it as a supplement for a while. But then it becomes a replacement. So here's an example. Nurses. If you go into a hospital, some hospitals now, when it's time to check out from your stay in the hospital, you'll get a robot nurse. And it is a robot, and sometimes it has a human face on a screen, but often it's a kind of checking you out of the hospital robot, and it runs through a checklist and off you go. And it's great for the hospital. You don't have to pay that person's healthcare. It's a robot. It'll work nonstop 24/7. It doesn't need a break. And it never gets cranky or impatient with patients. So it's a win-win for the hospital. But it strikes me that the ease with which we were replacing these human relationships, particularly in old folks' homes or in the hospital, when we're very vulnerable, we shouldn't accept the substitute for the human, because the human is what we need. We'll all get old. We'll all get frail. We all will need that sort of human comfort. And we all have a finite lifespan. And I think a lot of the optimism of Silicon Valley, which is great for entrepreneurship and free enterprise, forgets that to be human is to know one's limits, not just one's possibilities. And so those responsibilities we have to each other as humans, we don't want to use technology to replace the human. Like, I don't think people who need therapy should rely on an AI chatbot for their therapist. They sometimes need a human being to look them in the eyes and really listen to them.
Yes, and show emotion. I mean, in a much lighter context, I would say, good luck calling an airline to adjust your reservation or find your lost luggage. All you spend the whole day going, representative,
human being.
Exactly. It's so frustrating. It's just the small things. Like we ordered dinner in the other night, and the place had a recording saying you can only do it online. You can't speak with anybody live. So we go online, but then there was no box to uncheck cheese. And my boys have convinced themselves that they don't like cheese, even though they do like cheese. They eat pizza, but we have to go along with this lie. Anyway, so we were trying to so you couldn't uncheck cheese. So now we've ordered them something that's cheesy. So then my husband's trying to call them back just to say, can I just say no cheese? Just like, didn't give us, you like for 40 minutes, he was on hold trying to get through. That's the kind of stuff that drives you nuts. And all you just need is like the appropriate human staffing so you can have a quick and probably fun human interaction with somebody.
Right. Well, and those replacements, I mean, again, like when everyone first went online, it's like, it's going to make it so much easier. You don't have to deal with humans who make mistakes, but we get caught in these loops, right? These sort of, these horrible purgatorial these phone trees, or when you're trying to order or correct something online. And we forget that we chose that, right? By embracing technology in that way. And I think one thing that worries me is I don't want the human interactions to become a luxury good, as it were. I mean, we should want to help each other, and we should be able to reach out. Businesses should be smart about realizing not everybody wants to be bothered or harassed when they're shopping, for example. But that doesn't mean that we don't ever want to speak to a human being. So, we have a lot of these self-checkout kiosks, all these things that are supposed to make things easier on demand. But we lose the human touch. And the human touch is what gives us, as you said earlier, empathy, thoughtfulness, comfort, feeling like we're kind of all in this together.
And faith in your fellow human. If you've ever gone to, let's say, a library or a store where you're looking for something, you need help, and you meet somebody who goes above and beyond to help you, you can't believe it. You're so touched. It's like, oh my gosh, another human going above and beyond instead of bare minimum. It's wonderful. We've gotten so used to the opposite, starting with a robot and then moving on to an apathetic, staffer who doesn't want to help you at all. So yes, I completely agree. Now, all of this is well and good because we're talking about friendships, and that's fine. But in the love department, it gets very serious. Like, how is tech affecting our love relationships? Because as you know, and as has been in the news an awful lot lately, we do need to keep getting married and having children if we want like a human race to go on.
Yes, that pesky thing, reproduction. Mm-hmm. I think this is actually where a lot of people's, particularly the younger generation, their healthy skepticism starts to emerge. They're all on the dating apps. They're all meeting in this way. They're all having to perform themselves, sort of advertise themselves like they're a product. And they've gotten used to this, and they think, well, everybody does this, just the way things are. I would say it doesn't have to be that way, because when you're used to these mediated encounters, and when you meet someone for the first time in person and you already know huge amounts about them from their profile, assuming their profile is being honest, which in many cases it's not, then it actually makes that initial assessment of each other more awkward, more challenging in a lot of ways. And I think it leads to what we're seeing, which is a lot of people delaying trying to find relationships, delaying marriage, delaying having children, in part out of fear and anxiety. So again, these tools that were supposed to make meeting people easier because of their design choice, because of the way they make people advertise themselves, has actually made it more challenging for a lot of people. And they feel more comfortable than just hiding and hanging at home, texting their friends via the screen. And when you interview younger generations, they often don't even recognize the signs of their own attraction to another person when they experience it. They're like, I got really sweaty and nervous. I'm like, well, because you like her. And he's like, I guess that's true. Like, they don't even read their own body's signals in the way that I think a lot of us who are older take for granted.
Wow, that's sad, but yes, sounds real. Yeah. So what is the solution to all of this? The latest thing is to say, like, touch grass if you've gotten too crazy online. And I get it, short form, right? But what is the solution?
Well, I mean, this is going to sound silly, but we have to be more Amish. And by that, I mean, don't get rid of your zippers and get a horse and buggy. But think about every technology and platform that you choose to use before you embrace it fully. And that means if you're a parent, think about the stuff you're bringing into your home for your kids to use, what they're seeing and doing on their phones. And then you have to choose the human these days. I guess that's the message. You actually have to go out of your way and reintroduce friction into your life. That means, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to deal with talking to this stranger, and that's awkward, but I also might make a new friend or meet an interesting person. I have to go into public space without the comfort object of my phone to look at, and instead look around me, see what's going on in the world around me. All of these things are are uncomfortable. And so I would say we should be a little more uncomfortable. It's what makes us human. We should reintroduce friction so we can relearn patience. We should daydream. We should not fill every single free moment by checking our email or texting someone or looking at our phones. There's a lot going on in the world around us if we choose to pay attention. So I think I would like to see more of that, and I would like to see more thoughtful skepticism about all the new stuff that we're promised will change our lives, but often has unintended consequences.
Did you know there's nearly $1 trillion of infrastructure and pandemic funds yet to be spent? That's right, there's a massive amount of money that the lame duck administration is pushing hard to spend in their last few months. If the president is able to push these funds out, we could see another prolonged inflation surge, just like during COVID. But there is hope. A gold IRA from Birch Gold Group can be an inflation hedge for your savings in uncertain times. To see how to protect your IRA or 401k, get your free info kit on gold by texting the word MK to 989898. Birch Gold makes it seamless for you to just roll over your retirement account while preserving your tax-advantaged status. Don't wait for the president's spending spree to potentially tank the dollar further. Protect your financial future now. Text MK to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.